You've just accessed Hardware is Forever, your source for the expert insights, ideas, and innovations you need to do more in the electronics manufacturing industry. From optimization to operations, join us as we put the pieces together for a better approach to manufacturing. Let's go.
This is Hardware is Forever. Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech. Jay, we've been in this very interesting conversation about HMLV, and that continues with a discussion about quality control. And I think that this is important because if you get any of your systems wrong, if any of your parts of your process are wrong, if any of the people involved are not on point, the whole thing can break down. How do we manage that? What do we think about when it comes to quality control? How do we ensure that it's consistent and consistently high?
Yeah, so that's one of the most difficult things that in any area, when you don't have a lot of repetition, it always takes time to build that quality into the process through tribal knowledge. Ultimately, you can say, do X, Y, Z things, have inspection points, but then you lose efficiency. And then when you lose efficiency, your costs can go up, which leads to your price to going up, which leads to, the product not having market viability. So really, it's important when we try to do a high mix environment where there's high mix, low volume, high mix, high volume, high mix, mid volume, that quality gets launched very, very quickly and very, very robustly. Now, when you have the medium volumes or the large volume or high volume scenarios, you can get quality engineers, test engineers to kind of poke a yoke every single failure mode to ensure that that does not slip out. But then in a low volume environment, how do you really do that? Because you don't have the dollars and the team to be able to actually predict those things effectively and then put the things in the line. So then it's tough. So we have to build a quality standard in a system that is generically good, that it catches everything, that is robust. And really what that comes down to is your people and your processes. Deming initially states that you have to set it up and train your employees. And then in a way, find a way to capture, and in a high mix, low volume environment, you have to capture statistical data to ensure your processes in general are doing good. So you can't go down to a product level. You have to do it as a process level or a company level, organizational level data points. And that's where it kind of gets a little bit difficult, because even if you shore up your data, somewhere there's going to be a slippage in a product because you're not specifically designed for that particular product to be able to reduce the quality there. But on another piece of another product, you got it dialed in and you're getting 99.9999% yield, Six Sigma yield, and you're good. But then that may not carry over to something else. So I think really gathering the right data and then implementing changes at a generic level. So what that means and how we've done it is we've tried to take a look at our equipment, our tech stack, and and open up the process window. So anything you throw at it, we will get a good fighting chance at a good result. And now, Deming didn't get access to it, but now with IoT devices that capture data, now with SBC devices that capture data passively, and which is IoT, and then now more and more vision systems and AI systems that are able to use machine learning can quickly learn what is required from a particular assembly. And frankly, we've implemented a lot of that, and it's made us that much better. And we're implementing a lot more right now to make sure that we can track the right data to reduce waste, reduce defects, and provide a great product to the customer at the end of the day.
One of the interesting and obvious but meaningful things about HMLV in this whole process is you don't know that you don't know there's a breakdown until there's a breakdown. So
correct.
There's a few questions I have about this. One is, how do you circumvent the attitude or the idea of perfect is the enemy of good? Because we kind of need perfect. or we need as close to, or we need to continue to refine? How do we not obsess over the things that aren't going to get us at least moving in the right direction? Or do we need to do that? Is that part of the data gathering sort of functionality? Is good enough ever good enough?
Well, I mean, I think the good enough is what the customer standards are. So we have our IPC standards and what the customer standards are. Anything above and outside of that is overprocessing. And that's where training and documentation and understanding what those standards are and communicating that to the team really makes a difference. And people the training is required to understand that where overprocessing is what? Overprocessing is if we go above and beyond the customer's requirements, because for them, that's not adding value, but it is adding cost to them and ultimately to them and to us. So that's not something that the customer really minds. So let's not overprocess it. And that training is what is needed when we talk about what kind of people we need. We need people who understand what is required and what the standard is, not just we need to make the best thing possible. Steve Jobs would not do good in a high mix manufacturing environment because for him, perfection was the standard. And for us, the customer requirements are the standards.
How do you, who's the ambassador to that? Like, I'm thinking as you're talking, like, who's the person that says, this isn't good enough, this broke down? Who becomes I am the Lord of the HMLV here and can sort of help point things out? I know it's a group effort, but somebody has to be sort of running point.
It all starts out with when we launch and do the NPI, we review requirements, we get the standards, we update it. So then our quality inspectors and quality auditors know what is required of it and what is not required of it. And I think it starts out with understanding what the customer requirements are at the NPI, well, at the quoting stage and then at the NPI stage, and making sure that we communicate that to the entire team.
Who are you learning from in all this? Like, who's doing this really well, or who has a fascinating case study of how it totally bombed?
It's a good question. Who am I learning from? I think I'm learning from my experience right now. I have not found a person yet that I've been able to connect to that is really great at HMLV. There are companies that do really great job in quick turn prototypes. And those are our case studies that I should be studying, but I don't right now. But they get it in and they know they're only going to go build 50 or 20 once, and then they're never going to see it again, and they get it right. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. And I think that's where I got to learn both. Like, what are they doing right and what are they not doing right, so we can become a better company and an organization from that.
How easy is it to run? We've talked before about sort of, I don't know, an avatar of things. How easy is it to run a scenario or a simulation or a parallel version of before it becomes mission critical to see what would happen? Is that totally theoretical, or is that some part of that anyway we can explore?
So people are implementing digital twins now to make sure that they make a digital twin of their manufacturing environment and kind of test the flow going through that. But to create digital twins, you need a lot of data and you need a lot of effort, because it's just not here, plug and play, let's see how it's going to run in a complex environment. I think that cost is high, which can be invested into, but then the maintenance and then getting real world data out of that. So then your digital twin matches your factory shop floor is a process that can be done. But again, it takes a lot of data to be able to do that.
Is there an auditing process, like on the regular, where we have this person who's making sure that all these things go well? How's that work?
Yeah. So what we try to do is whenever we get to a point where we can't undo it or can't easily repair it, we put a inspection step in there. And the nice thing is that now with AI, you can quickly train that inspection step. So then we can put multiple inspection steps through the entire process and to catch issues. And we do that in the shop floor.
Where do you think, for you, the reality is, are you in let me see if I can phrase this. Are you in a building and innovation mode, or are you in a flywheel iteration mode.
You're fine tuning until you find a new paradigm
Right.
shift like AI, and then you're doing it from scratch again. Something that changes it. Like, industrial IoT wasn't there as ubiquitous as it is now. Vision for AI systems using machine learning wasn't there. Now that it's there, we're kind of like, okay, how do we implement it? And that fundamentally changes some of our processes that we have to take a look at and redo and retrain and re-implement. So a lot of the things, and frankly, this is a great leapfrog opportunity. We don't have to implement a lot of the old SPC data collection, supervision type of roles, and we can just passively monitor and obtain data and quickly train a machine that can do the inspection rather than having and hoping that a person can visually inspect it. So we're getting better yields and results by that leapfrog moment that we're having right now.
What I think is interesting is I think some of these opportunities wouldn't be fully evaluated or discovered if you were not the sort of curious person that you are. So like when 2 years ago, I can't even believe it was that short ago, ChatGPT erupted, and now AI is a very different conversation, but you are into that. Like you're reading and you're studying, and then your brain is saying, oh, but here's an opportunity. And what if we did this? And what if we did that? I think that's a competitive advantage. I think that helps you help Amtech to think differently about these things. What do I do if I don't have that? How do I approach this if I'm not that person?
I don't know. You got to bring the right people on your team, and
that's, I guess he's the guy.
Yeah, frankly, that's not my like. You have to be ready to change.
Yeah,
and you have to.
Which we've talked about. You've got to be ready to not be who you are.
Yeah, and I think you got to get a really good CTO, and you got to recognize first that there's a huge gap, and the industry is going somewhere. And you got to get a ticket to that train, otherwise it's going to leave, and it's going to leave you behind. So like if you don't know that, then that's the first step. Second step is to go out and just ask questions and find people and have that curiosity, and fail fast. Again, same all the tenets that go into innovation: fail fast, fail cheap, fail often, type of things. So
Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech. Interesting stuff. I like these conversations a lot. I'm looking forward to the next one. Thanks, Jay.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers and followers. Consider becoming one today wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Hardware is Forever is designed, tested, engineered, and built by the manufacturing experts at Amtech. Learn more and let us help you envision your next project with a free Design for Manufacturing assessment at buildamtech.com/DFM.